Here, real player say something.
Well, I say like this. The game gets you in it. The game can get you out of it. But one thing you got to understand, playing the games is ups and downs in the game. Ain't no straight afloat. You know what I mean? When you fall is how quick you get back up. Shit.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Slim Ernie, and today I'm here with another video. Today we're gonna be talking about being back in New Jersey. You dig? I'm back home. And what's so funny about the word home is it can be very. Home is really, I realize home is a feeling that you get. I felt at home when I was in my van, and I felt at home when I'm at my parents' house. But it wasn't the house. It was when I'm around my family members it felt like home. So home doesn't have to necessarily mean four brick walls. It could just mean the feeling that you get when you're around somebody or you're around loved ones. You dig? Always remember that. You know. So why are we back in Jersey? Well, I realize being on the road is you have to play the game smart. You can't let your ego get the best of you because sometimes, depending on who you are, your ego can put you in a very bad situation. Well, as far as mine can, you know, because I always believe in the theory of you cross the bridge and you burn it, and you try to truly figure it out as like there's no turning back. You're supposed to figure it out on the road, but how far are you willing to go? At the end of the day, you always gotta keep that in mind. How far are you willing to go? Now, being on the road, I've done some things that I thought I would never do in my fucking life, ever in my life. And I've done it on the road. And I'm like, you know what? Before shit get even worse than I'm doing, like, let me just let me just go back home. I'm already stepping out of bounds, I feel as though in my life. So let me get shit in order, and just not start all over, but put a pause on the van life, and we're gonna go back to it, you dig? But life is still fun. Life is still amazing. Even with me being back in Jersey, when I got back home, I see my family. Actually, I seen the first person I seen. My dad. He picked me up from the airport. And oh yeah. And first, let me backtrack. Right. So we had to take 3 stops to get to New Jersey. Right, that plane ticket cost like $2.45, very cheap. That's why I had so many stops. I had like 3 stops. You dig? But it was pretty fun. I like being on a plane, so it's not that big of a deal. You know. Um, so I take the 3 plane tickets, and we get back home. And I contact one of my female friends. A good friend of mine. You dig? And we went out for some tacos, chopped it up, chilled, drank, you know, for a little bit, you know. And after that, I went back home, see my family. And the next day, I go to the gym, of course, because I train every day, Well, I try to, but for the most part, I do, right? I go to the gym, I see another friend of mine, and, we go out, because actually, I didn't tell anyone that I was coming home. It was really just a surprise. So I see her at the gym, we chopping it up, we talking, and she asking, "Oh, I didn't know you was coming back home." And I was like, "Well, it's a surprise." you know. So we go out to go get some tacos. I think like 2 days later, 2 or 3. We go out for some tacos. And soon we get to this taco spot. Right, the first person I see is some chick I used to see at the gym all the time. It's some older lady that I used to like say hi to. We used to smile at each other. And when I tell you this bitch is so bad, like she's fucking gorgeous. But the funniest part is her daughter. I graduated the same class as her daughter, I never spoke to her daughter, but her daughter is pretty smart as far as I know. And I always thought that, I'm like, man, like, and sometimes, in my life, certain situations is you have to know when to approach certain people. Like certain people, I'm not gonna say you don't have a chance with, but like even that lady I be seeing is she always have like this serious face, But me knowing women, you have to know that sometimes when a chick has a mean face, it just means that she like females, they have to put up a guard because they don't have a man to protect them. When they have no one, when a female doesn't have anyone to protect them, they have to put on that face, or things are just happening in their life. It doesn't mean they're necessarily like that, but they have their guard up all the time, you know. And you have to know when to approach certain chicks, And most of the chicks are very warm-hearted, nice. You just have to break that guard that's been on them for so long, you know. But anyways, so seeing her, that was like my gift, to the world. I live a player's like a lover boy's life. When I come back, the first thing I see is all the females that I want to see. You know, you know, it's always a good time in my mind. But anyways, we eat our tacos and we go on and we me and my friend we chopping up, we talking, catching up, you know. And I see one of my other friends, we go out to some party later on in that weekend, you know. And here's the thing about partying, because we partied in Philadelphia. Now, I didn't really want to party, but he wanted to, like, first it's either that or we go to a strip club. And I didn't want to go, I don't like going to the strip club anymore because it's very transactional. And it's not really transactional. I never spend money on chicks at the strip club. I throw a couple ones, but I don't want to feel like doing that. And me and my friend, we have a history with strippers, and sometimes you have to know what's best for the mental health. You know, strippers, they're very good psychologists. They're very good with manipulating guys and whatnot. And you have to know what's best for you. And sometimes, you gotta think for people and say, we should not go there. Because if we go there, then you're gonna see something you like, and the chick is working, and you're trying to play this game, and you may think you're winning, but a chick always got a trick up her sleeve, So always be aware of that. Chicks are smart and stupid at the same time. So be aware of what's happening. So I've been working on my plan lately, getting some money and just waiting things out, not trying to be in a rush to do things, because you start rushing, you start making mistakes, Now, I haven't felt I made any crazy mistakes, but I'm just trying to be smart about the decision I make, because now, because what's so crazy is being back in my parents' crib, right? I realized first I really don't want to go out all the time, you know, and I do miss having a bathroom and a bed and and not fast food all the time, and Walmart meals. Ever since I've been back, the Walmart meals I was eating, them shits are out. I haven't even looked at the frozen section anywhere. You dig? It's so funny. You do things out of necessity, but that's not what your heart truly desires, truthfully. And I always know, I mean, that trip was, of course I'm going back on the road, but my plan is going to be better this time, because it's fun being on the road when you have money, when you have the right van, you know, when you have all the right things, it's just smooth. It's just smooth sailing. You dig? But when you struggling and you in that van, it's not fun. It's not, you know. But you do make the best of it. And being on the road, like I was like, man, like even being out there, I regret nothing I've done, and I had a very good time being out there, you know, and I'm going back. You dig? I'm going back, and I'm gonna make it bigger and better than ever. I'm gonna hit all the states I didn't hit. You know, we're gonna see a couple chicks, and we're gonna have another good time. You know, we're gonna have more than a good time. Because that's what it's all about. It's about for me is at 23. It's about just having a good time and setting myself up for the future. It's not just financially, it's mentally, it's physically, it's spiritually. It's all those things. It's not just one thing. You can't just work on one thing as a guy. You have to work on all things, you know. Because some people think if they just focus on one thing, that's gonna just it's gonna push them like it's gonna it's like they think working on one thing usually it's just money. And they're like, oh, once I get the money, all my problems are gonna get resolved. And I don't feel as though that's the case. Now, I'm not rich, but I've done things that I'm like, well, I didn't really need that much money to do, and I had just as a good time I feel as though anyone else could have had. You know, like to some people, right? Even me, like, if we just talk about chicks, right? To make things easy, you know, some people say, oh, once I get the money, then all the chicks are gonna just flock to me. I know dudes that have absolutely zero, cause as a matter of fact, they asking a chick for the money, and they having a way. So it's not necessarily about money. And I know people like, you know, even if you talk about physique and, like just having a right body, because being on the road, you still got to work out every single day, man. You can't let that body go, you know, when you still go out, and another thing too about being on the road, it teaches you how to talk to people, man. Talk to strangers, go out, talk to strangers, even though I always do that, but, just being more comfortable of doing it. Telling yourself that you're not going to see that person probably ever again. So just talk to them. See what they say. They may fuck around and like you. You got to see. You can't be scared of denial because none of that. Because sometimes a chick just isn't denial you. Maybe she like, I realize like you have to really find the chick that just likes you. Like, like you're not everyone's type. Like if certain chicks walked up, there's chicks that walked up to me that just simply just wasn't my type. And I told them no, you know. So, and that's another thing as a guy. Once you're telling chicks no, then you realize that when a chick deny you, you're just not her type, and it's not that deep, cause she isn't thinking about it. You are. You're thinking about it. You spending so much time and energy on why this person doesn't like me, this and that, because you've never been in a position where a chicks are walking up to you and you're sitting there denying them. You know. And then that's when you realize it's not that person when a chick likes you. And matter of fact, when she denied you, she wasn't even thinking. She's not thinking that much of it, but you're thinking a lot of it, so you just gotta know, man, everything is perspective, um and not everything is personal, you dig. And yeah, another thing too is, man, you just gotta another thing is, just gotta just stay focused on your goals. Just make sure that life is always progressing, getting better, you dig. And I feel that you achieve happiness that way. But the biggest lesson I learned, right, was the concept of the devil, which is in a tarot card reading I got, which in a tarot card reading is the devil is the materialistic world. God is actually within, you know. So sometimes when you are trying to go out and you're trying to do all these things, you're playing the devil's game. You're seeking something outside yourself when you really be seeking things within. I've been telling my parents that since I've been back is, the devil whispers in everyone's ear. You know, he wants you to go out inside the world and try to achieve all those things, you know, but really you're supposed to achieve everything within. There should be no difference if you wear a Gucci shirt and a regular white t-shirt. You should still have the same confidence. But the devil will convince you saying that Gucci shirt will make you a better individual, but really it doesn't, you know. What makes you a better person is the inner work that you do within. You dig? Always keep that in mind. And I want y'all to go out into the world and explore the world. The world is magical and beautiful. You dig? So, once again, Church on the Move.